Hi, everyone. I'm Amara, and welcome to Amara's Warm Tales. I'm beyond excited to have you here in this cozy corner of stories. Today, I'm thrilled to share a brand new story I've written just for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let's spark a conversation. I read and reply to every single one, so come join me. Now, let's dive into the story. In the serene suburb of Willow Creek, where lawns are pristine and rules reign supreme, a war veteran named Marcus Jackson faces a battle unlike any he fought overseas. Marcus, an African-American Special Forces hero, and his loyal German shepherd Zara, who saved him from a battlefield explosion, seek peace in their new home. But the tyrannical HOA president, Noah, wields his clipboard like a weapon, issuing absurd fines for minor infractions and targeting Marcus with petty regulations. When Noah's draconian pet rule threatens to tear Zara from Marcus's side, the veteran's quiet strength ignites a rebellion. As racial tensions simmer and neighbors rally, Marcus's fight to save Zara becomes a stand for justice, exposing Noah's corruption and awakening a community. This gripping tale of loyalty, resilience, and defiance reveals how one man's love for his dog can topple a suburban dictator, proving that even in the quietest cul-de-sacs, courage can change everything. In the suburban enclave of Willow Creek, where manicured lawns and pastel homes promised tranquility, a silent war simmered. The Homeowners Association, HOA, led by Noah Thompson, a retired accountant with a penchant for control, ruled with an iron grip. Noah, a wiry man in his 60s with thinning hair and a perpetual scowl, treated every minor infraction as a personal insult. His clipboard was his weapon, his fines a means to enforce his vision of suburban perfection. For Marcus Jackson, a 38-year-old African-American war veteran and former Special Forces operative, Willow Creek was meant to be a refuge. Marcus bore the scars of 4 tours in conflict zones, shrapnel wounds, a weakened lung from a gas attack, and the invisible weight of trauma. His only solace was Zara, a German shepherd he'd brought back from the battlefield. Zara, with her sleek, black and tan coat and soulful brown eyes, had saved Marcus's life, dragging him to safety when an explosion left him wounded and disoriented. She was his anchor, his reason to face each day. Every morning, Marcus walked Zara through the neighborhood, her steady gait matching his measured steps, her presence calming the memories of gunfire that lingered in his mind. The neighbors admired Marcus's quiet strength, though some whispered about his race, their biases hidden behind polite nods. Noah, however, saw Marcus as a challenge to his authority, his dark skin and military bearing an unspoken affront in Noah's meticulously ordered world. The tension began with absurd fines. $50 for a mailbox painted a shade too dark, violating Aesthetic Code 3.2. $150 for a garden hose coiled in a way Noah deemed visually disruptive to neighborhood harmony. Marcus paid without protest, his Special Forces discipline keeping his anger in check, but the injustice gnawed at him. He sensed racial undertones in Noah's scrutiny, the way fines targeted him more than others. The neighborhood itself was restless, its residents, families, retirees, young professionals, chafing under Noah's growing list of rules. Social gatherings dwindled as neighbors feared their patio furniture or holiday decorations might attract Noah's wrath. Mrs. Carter, a retired teacher with a sharp tongue, grumbled about a $75 fine for a non-compliant bird bath. The Patel family, tech-savvy professionals, received a $200 citation for a porch light that was too bright under Code 5.1. Marcus observed it all, his training making him a keen strategist. He noted every citation, every neighbor's hushed complaint, storing them like ammunition. At home, he sat on his porch, Zara's head resting on his knee, her warmth easing the ache in his old wounds. The crisp autumn air carried the scent of freshly cut grass, but beneath Willow Creek's idyllic surface, a storm was brewing. Marcus's morning walks with Zara were his ritual, a moment of peace in a life marked by chaos. As they passed manicured lawns, Zara's ears twitched at the hum of sprinklers, her loyalty a shield against Marcus's memories of war. But Noah's rules were closing in, threatening to shatter that peace. Marcus didn't yet know that Noah's next move would strike at the heart of his world, targeting the one thing he could not bear to lose: Zara, his savior, his family. The conflict deepened as Noah's tyranny tightened its grip on Willow Creek. One chilly October morning, Marcus and Zara returned from their walk to find a new HOA notice taped to his door, the paper crisp and official, Noah's signature scrawled at the bottom. The notice announced a new pet regulation: no dogs over 24 inches at the shoulder allowed, citing community safety and aesthetic concerns. Zara, measured at 25 inches, was in violation. The notice demanded her removal to a county shelter within 48 hours, with a $300 fine for non-compliance. Marcus's heart thudded, his vision narrowing as he read the words again, the paper trembling in his hands. Zara, who had pulled him from a burning village, her jaws clamped around his jacket as bullets whizzed overhead, was now a target. His mind flashed to that day, shrapnel tearing through his leg, the deafening blast, Zara's desperate barks cutting through his days. She had stayed by his side in a field hospital, her warmth grounding him through nights of pain. To lose her was unthinkable. Marcus sank onto his couch, Zara sensing his distress and pressing her body against his, her eyes searching his face. His hands shook, not from fear, but from a protective rage he hadn't felt since the battlefield. The rule was arbitrary, a power play, and Marcus suspected it was personal, Noah's way of provoking him, perhaps because of his race, his defiance, his very presence in Willow Creek. He began researching HOA bylaws, his special forces training kicking in. Assess the enemy, gather intelligence, plan the counterstrike. He pored over documents late into the night. Zara curled at his feet, her steady breathing a reminder of what was at stake. The neighborhood, too, felt the weight of Noah's new rule, as other pet owners faced similar threats. The Patel's golden retriever, Max, was also over the height limit, and Mrs. Carter's elderly terrier was deemed too noisy under a vague noise ordinance. Fear silenced most residents, but whispers of rebellion stirred. Marcus's resolve hardened, his military instincts sharpening. He drafted letters to the county, documented Noah's violations, his own unpermitted fence, a shed built without approval, and planned to appeal the pet rule. But the stress took its toll. His old wounds ached, his lung burned with each breath, and nightmares of war returned, Zara's barks pulling him back to reality. The neighborhood's social fabric frayed further as Noah's enforcers patrolled, snapping photos of violations and issuing fines for everything from untrimmed hedges to unauthorized Halloween pumpkins. Marcus walked Zara each morning, defiant, her leash a symbol of resistance. The crisp air smelled of fallen leaves, but the scent of fear hung heavier. Neighbors watched from behind curtains, their silence a barrier Marcus knew he'd have to break. He sat on his porch at dusk, Zara's head on his lap, and vowed to protect her no matter the cost. The battle lines were drawn, and Marcus, though weary, was ready to fight. Marcus's health crumbled under the strain, his body betraying him as the fight for Zara intensified. One evening, as he reviewed HOA bylaws, a searing pain tore through his chest, his lung seizing from old damage. He collapsed, gasping, Zara barking frantically, her paws nudging him as his vision blurred. A neighbor, alerted by the noise, called 911, and paramedics rushed Marcus to the hospital. In the sterile ER, hooked to monitors, his thoughts were only of Zara. He imagined her alone, confused, her leash untouched. Between labored breaths, he begged Amara, a young nurse with warm brown eyes and a gentle demeanor, to check on Zara. Amara, moved by Marcus's desperation, promised to visit his home after her shift. When she arrived, the house was silent, the air heavy with absence. Zara's water bowl sat full, her bed empty, her leash missing from its hook. Amara's stomach knotted as she searched the yard, her flashlight cutting through the dusk, finding no trace of the dog. Her heart raced. Something was wrong. On her way back, she spotted Pastor Ellis, an elderly man with a kind face and a slow gait, watering his roses. He mentioned seeing Noah and two men loading a German shepherd into a van near Marcus's house, his voice tinged with unease. Amara's breath caught, her mind racing with the implications. She hurried back to the hospital, her sneakers squeaking on the linoleum as she reached Marcus's room. His face, usually stoic, crumpled with panic as she relayed Pastor Ellis's words. Zara was gone, stolen by Noah's men, her fate unknown. Despite the IVs and his weakened state, Marcus's mind sharpened, his training overriding his pain. He discharged himself against medical advice, his body protesting with every step, his leg throbbing where shrapnel had once lodged. The hospital's fluorescent lights glared overhead, but Marcus's focus was singular. Find Zara. Back in Willow Creek, he began his search, limping door to door, his voice hoarse but resolute. Neighbors, seeing his frailty and desperation, stirred from their silence. Mrs. Carter offered him water, her eyes welling with guilt for not speaking out sooner. The Patels shared rumors of Noah's pet relocation plan, their anger mirroring Marcus's. Amara, haunted by Zara's absence, joined the search, her compassion outweighing her fear of Noah's retaliation. The neighborhood's fear began to crack as whispers of Noah's cruelty spread. Marcus's love for Zara, forged in the crucible of war, drove him forward, each step a battle against his failing body. He pictured Zara's courage, her warmth, her nudging him awake after nightmares. The autumn air was sharp, the streets quiet save for the hum of sprinklers, but Marcus felt the weight of eyes watching, neighbors teetering between fear and defiance. His chest burned, his leg buckled, but Zara's absence was a wound deeper than any shrapnel. The community's awakening was slow, but Marcus's resolve was a spark, igniting a fire Noah could not contain. Noah's arrogance reached its peak, his confrontation with Marcus a turning point for Willow Creek. One overcast morning, as Marcus searched for Zara, Noah appeared on his lawn, flanked by two HOA enforcers, burly men with smug grins and cameras dangling from their necks. Noah's face was a mask of smug authority, his eyes glinting with disdain as he clutched a new citation. He accused Marcus of defying the pet rule, his tone laced with condescension, the word compliance dripping like venom. Marcus, exhausted from his hospital stay, stood tall despite his pain, his eyes burning with defiance. He challenged Noah's authority, his voice steady, pointing out the rule's absurdity and Noah's own violations. Noah, sensing weakness in Marcus's frail frame, stepped closer, his enforcers looming like shadows. The air was thick with tension, the neighborhood watching from porches and windows. In a moment of reckless hubris, Noah shoved Marcus, his hands slamming into Marcus's chest. Marcus stumbled, his bad leg collapsing, and he fell onto the grass, pain shooting through his body like a live wire. The humiliation burned hotter than the pain, the sting of being targeted not just for Zara, but for his race, his past, his refusal to bow. Noah towered over him, his enforcers smirking, their cameras raised to capture Marcus's defeat. But the shove was Noah's fatal error. Mrs. Carter gasped from her porch, her hands clutching her sweater. The Patels stepped outside, their faces tight with fury, their children peering from the doorway. Pastor Ellis, leaning on his cane, shook his head, his quiet sorrow turning to resolve. The neighborhood's pent-up rage ignited, residents spilling onto the street, their voices rising in protest. Amara rushed to Marcus's side, her hands trembling as she helped him stand, her eyes blazing with anger. The crowd surrounded Noah, demanding answers about Zara, about the fines, about his reign of terror. Noah, cornered, stammered, his clipboard useless against the tide of defiance. Marcus, struggling to his feet, felt a surge of hope amidst his pain, his chest heaving as he accused Noah of stealing Zara. The crowd roared, their unity a force Noah couldn't counter. Mrs. Carter shouted about her birdbath fine, the Patels about their porch light, their voices blending into a chorus of outrage. Pastor Ellis raised a hand, his calm presence steadying the chaos, urging the crowd to demand justice. Noah's enforcers backed away, their smirks gone, their cameras lowered. Marcus's heart ached for Zara, but the neighbors' support was a lifeline, pulling him from despair. The scene was chaotic. Shouts, waving fists, Noah's pale face as his authority crumbled. The autumn leaves swirled around them, the air charged with rebellion. Willow Creek was no longer a place of fear. It was a community awakening, sparked by a veteran's love for his dog and a single, reckless shove. Marcus limped forward, his voice cutting through the noise, vowing to find Zara and end Noah's tyranny. The neighbors cheered, their resolve a shield around him, their shared pain forging a bond stronger than Noah's rules. The race to save Zara was a desperate sprint against time, Marcus's love for her driving him beyond his physical limits. Cornered by the crowd, Noah's composure shattered, his voice cracking as he admitted Zara was at a county shelter, scheduled for euthanasia that afternoon. Marcus's heart stopped, his mind flashing to Zara's bravery, her jaws clamped on his jacket, pulling him from a burning village, her warmth beside him in a field hospital, anchoring him through pain. He couldn't lose her. Amara, tears streaming down her face, called the shelter, her voice shaking as she begged them to delay the procedure. Marcus, ignoring the pain in his leg and the burning in his chest, climbed into his truck, Amara and Pastor Ellis joining him. The drive was a blur, the shelter 20 minutes away, each second a dagger in Marcus's chest. He gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white, memories of Zara flooding him, her steady gaze under gunfire, her nudging him awake after nightmares, her tail wagging at the sight of his morning coffee. The shelter loomed ahead, a squat brick building with a grim air, its parking lot nearly empty. Inside, a harried worker confirmed Zara was still alive, but Noah's men were en route with her. Amara's call had bought a sliver of time, but not enough. Marcus's desperation peaked, his body trembling with exhaustion and fear, his lung burning with each breath. Pastor Ellis, his voice calm but firm, rallied the group, reminding them of Zara's importance, not just to Marcus, but as a symbol of their fight. They waited, the shelter's fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the air thick with antiseptic and dread. Marcus paced, his limp pronounced, his mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Amara clutched her phone, refreshing the shelter's contact page, her hands shaking. Pastor Ellis sat quietly, his hands folded, his lips moving in silent prayer. The minutes stretched, each one a weight on Marcus's chest. Then a van pulled up, its tires crunching on gravel. Noah's enforcers emerged, Zara's leash in hand. She looked weary, her coat dull from stress, but her ears perked at Marcus's scent. Marcus knelt, pain shooting through his leg, and called her name, his voice breaking. Zara bounded to him, her tail wagging, her body pressing against his, her warmth flooding him with relief. The enforcers hesitated, outnumbered by the crowd that had followed from Willow Creek. Mrs. Carter, the Patels, and others, their faces set with determination. Amara's quick thinking had saved Zara, but Marcus's reunion was bittersweet, his body battered, his spirit bruised by the ordeal. The neighbors demanded the enforcers leave, their voices a unified roar. Zara was safe, but Marcus's fight with Noah was unfinished. He held Zara close, her fur soft against his hands, and felt the weight of the community behind him. The shelter's parking lot was a scene of triumph and exhaustion, the autumn sun low, casting long shadows. Marcus's chest heaved, his health precarious, but Zara's presence was a balm, her loyalty a reminder of why he fought. The neighbors, now a united front, vowed to end Noah's reign, their anger a fire stoked by Zara's near loss. The hearing was Willow Creek's reckoning, a battle fought not with weapons, but with evidence and truth. The county auditorium was packed, folding chairs spilling into the aisles, residents clutching printouts of fines and photos of Noah's violations. Marcus sat in the front row, Zara at his side, a special dispensation allowing her presence. His body was frail, his breathing labored, but his resolve was unbreakable. Amara, Pastor Ellis, and the Patels flanked him, their presence a shield against Noah's lingering influence. Noah entered in a crisp suit, his face a mask of false confidence, his clipboard absent for the first time. The panel, a stern group of county officials, reviewed Marcus's dossier, a 60-page testament to Noah's abuses, compiled with military precision. It included photos of Noah's unpermitted deck and shed, emails threatening residents, forged meeting minutes, and financial records showing $2,500 in unauthorized consulting fees to Noah's cousin. Marcus testified first, his voice hoarse but steady, recounting Zara's theft, Noah's shove, and the racial bias woven into every fine. He spoke of Zara's heroism, how she saved him in war, and how Noah's rule threatened her life. His words carried the weight of his service, his pain, his love for his community. The room was silent, the panel's faces grim. Amara followed, her testimony raw, detailing Zara's near euthanasia and Noah's cruelty, her voice breaking as she described Marcus's hospital plea. Mrs. Carter presented a petition, signed by 80% of Willow Creek, demanding Noah's removal. The Patels revealed Noah's financial misconduct, their data projected on a screen, each transaction a nail in Noah's coffin. Noah's defense was feeble, his claims of community safety unraveling under scrutiny. He stammered about pet dangers, but the panel pressed him on the forged minutes, the racial targeting, the stolen funds. The auditorium buzzed with tension, residents leaning forward, their anger palpable. The panel recessed, the weight agonizing, Marcus stroking Zara's fur to steady his nerves. When they returned, the verdict was swift. Noah was stripped of his position. His actions referred to the district attorney for fraud and civil rights violations. The room erupted in cheers, residents embracing, tears streaming. Marcus exhaled, Zara nudging his hand, her warmth grounding him. Noah stormed out, his suit rumpled, his reign ended. The auditorium was a sea of relief and triumph, the air thick with emotion. Marcus's health was failing, his body pushed beyond its limits, but the victory was his. The neighbors vowed to rebuild, electing a new board with Amara and Pastor Ellis at the helm. They revised the bylaws, banning absurd rules and protecting pets like Zara. Marcus, too weak to join, watched from his porch, Zara at his side as Willow Creek bloomed again. Kids rode bikes, dogs barked, and the community healed, its scars a testament to their fight. Marcus's love for Zara and the neighbors' courage had toppled a tyrant, proving that even in the quietest suburbs, justice could prevail when hearts united. The autumn sun set over Willow Creek, casting a golden glow, and Marcus, though battered, felt a peace he hadn't known since the war. Zara's steady presence, a promise of brighter days.